because we're in a deflationary cycle. Now, has nothing to do with that. Gold prices should be going up because the euro is worthless, the dollar is worthless, the yuan, the yen, the real, they're all worthless. They're dumping money in to pump the system up. So I'm in gold long term. I don't believe this is a bubble. This is very different from when it collapsed in 1980. I was trading gold back then. Whole different world situation.
Hey, I'm doing the same thing because everywhere they're devaluing currencies but creating a real depression so that the inflation doesn't get too bad visibly. But long term, either they come out with a new currency and redenominate gold, or gold and silver are going straight up. I mean, that is a mathematical certainty. We've already seen gold go down $500, $600 a few years ago. Then it shot back to heights even greater. But I'm not in gold and silver to even make a profit. It's an emergency backup because I know these paper dollars are going the way of used toilet paper.
You got it. And also, you said something very important. You're not in gold and silver to make a profit. You're in there for security and safe haven. You're in there for the long haul, and for me, my golden years, which are getting closer all the time. So I'm not in it for a profit. What do I do profit? My business is my profit. My Trends Journal is my profit. I don't invest gambling, what they call investing. I don't gamble to make a profit. I put my money where my mind and heart is, not speculating. So in going back to what's going on in Europe, Alex, there's no way out. They're not going to come out with a euro bond. The Germans are not going to let it happen where they put all the bonds in one package and come up with an even price. The best they're going to come up with is maybe some kind of plan so that when you put your money in the banks, you don't lose it. But they're not going to be, Spain. I love the Spanish, that guy, Rajoy.
No, wait a minute. I'm gonna interrupt you because I don't have a big crew. You don't have a huge crew. We're lean and mean. But I could go back 5 years ago when I first started having you on, or I guess it's about 6 now, time flies. Or I could go back and get Robert 6, 7 years ago, or Chapman 10 years ago. I could go back. But I remember you 3 years ago, 4 years ago, saying, you watch, it's going to spread to Europe. It's going to start with the pigs. It's going to go through Greece, and then into Spain, and then Portugal, and right down the line, it has been exactly as you guys have said. And each time, here are the mainstream media people who never get it right on purpose because they're lying. Here are you guys out there that are doing the real research, and you're explaining they're going to get another bailout, that won't fix it. Another bailout, that won't fix it. I mean, they don't even wait a week now till demanding a new bailout to the bankers. So break down. You predicted exactly what's happening so far, and now tell us what's coming next in Europe, how you see this shaking out.
Well, again, let's go back also. The euro's only online, 10 years? And it can't hold it together in 10 years. It's only 10 years old, and it came in at the height of globalization. It can't make it through bad times. So, go back to Spain. What did they say 3 weeks ago? We're going to need 19 billion bucks. We can bail out all the banks.
Then 100 billion.
Now it's 100 billion. It's 100 billion euros, 125 billion.
And now they're asking for 300 billion more. It's like every day it becomes a new number.
Exactly. And that's only Spain. And then there's Italy. Italy's debt's much bigger than Spain's, more than 2.5 times. They can't get out of it. There's no way out. So what they're going to do, again, NATO, we're talking about NATO. What's with this NATO baloney? NATO is there. They put it in place to protect us from them Soviet unions. Remember that one? NATO wasn't supposed to go into Libya. NATO's not supposed to go into Syria. This is the World Criminal Organization that's put together a global army. And they're going to get our mind off this by taking us to more war. They cannot solve the European debt crisis. And like you said, where's the money going? It's going to the banks. Who made up this baloney up that we have to save the money changers? Who made this up that if the banks fail, we all die? Hey, guess what? I can't go out of business. I want a bailout. If people can't get the Trends Journal, the whole world will go to crap. I mean, it's the same thing. And look at this one. What was the average increase for these losers, these Jamie Dimons, these guys in Citigroup and all the rest, they got 12% on average bonuses, pay raises for bringing their companies
that's another point.
and the country down.
That's another point. Not defending Communist China. They have their own problems and they're in bed with the globalists. But you and others have pointed out when they put melamine in kids' milk, they just execute them, the corporate leaders. I noticed they're taking all the fancy cars away from government bureaucrats because China is having budgetary cuts. But here, it's more caviar, more jets, more $500 a night for even Austin city officials when they go to New York to sell us out. I mean, it is amazing how, as Rome burns, they are literally fiddling.
Again, we have to understand who the they are. The they, as I've said over and over again, are the same people we couldn't stand in high school and college. The ones that wanted to be the class presidents and head of the student councils. The suck-ups, the brown-nosers, the glad-handers, the insincere. That's who they are. They follow their career path, and they're destroying us, and people applaud them. They wait online to see them. They close down entire cities, airspace, stop the trains when they come into town, and they're bringing the entire global situation to another world war, and we're letting them do it. Oh, you know that woman on the bus, the school bus monitor, who the kids, ridiculed, and she's crying, and she gets, a couple of $100,000. If that was my mother or my Aunt Zizzy, may their souls rest in peace, any of them, if those kids started giving them any bit of crap, they would have laid these kids out. Who are you talking to? That's what would have happened in the old days. But the people in this country have become nothing more than a bunch of pansies.
Well, by the way, you always talk about dressing nice, and I've been so busy. I've been sold on an idea that I've got to respect myself even more because I kind of saw it as dressing fancy puts other people down, but now I understand it's the opposite. Like the old timers, they always tried to dress really nice, so I've got to go out and get some new suits and stuff because my others are worn out or too big now because I've lost some weight. But the point is, I do intend to try to really start dressing a lot nicer, and my wife always does it, but with my children as well, because A, we've got to separate ourselves from people that don't care, because even poor people a long time ago tried to dress nice, and B, point out, hey, we're important, we've got manners, because society is completely degenerating. I mean, you go to the store now, people's pants are hanging down, they're slobs everywhere, society's degenerating, and the system counts on us not having any respect for ourselves, because even when I was in school, 25, 30 years ago, when it was things like middle school and elementary school, I was dressed with a button-up shirt and jeans, and my shoes were clean, and I wasn't fancy, and everybody was so much more respectful, and we weren't perfect, mind you. But nowadays, they've purposefully taken all discipline out of parents, out of people in the neighborhood, out of anybody, show that now everybody's a bunch of mindless, crazy animals. I mean, I'm really worried about society because you've got one group, that's getting into dressing better, having better food, being more cultured, getting back to basics, and then you've got others who are just headlong turning into animals.
You got it. And that's the ones we have to watch out for because, just to make the point, people, I'm not talking about going out and buying, you could buy very nice clothes at a very affordable price. You go to Goodwill, Salvation Army, people that work with me, friends I have, they all do it.
No, the point is people don't care anymore about looking nice. They don't care.
That's exactly it. The other thing is, it doesn't cost anything to feel good. You make yourself feel better. I get emails all the time, people saying thank you for bringing this up. Because here's my, every day I meditate, or else I'd go out of my mind, all the crap I have to read and analyze it. And there's 5 things I say every day: courage, dignity, respect, integrity, and passion. When you have those 5 elements, you don't take anybody's crap. And you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that's what we've lost to me in this country. We've lost our dignity. We've lost our courage. Again, that woman, crying. You're 68 years old. You're only 3 years older than me. As I said, if that was my mother or aunts, they wouldn't take that crap from little kids. They've lost their integrity. They've lost their passion. And one other thing. You mentioned about being poor and looking well. Anybody could do it. Doesn't cost anything. Go on the internet. Look up the Great Depression. Look at the way the people dressed. Look at the way they dressed. Even if they were poor, they looked respectable. It's self-respect. And again, that's what the intellectual revolution that we're waging is. One of the heart and the mind. It's about the individual rising up to greater heights. It's as simple as that. Because when you do, you don't take anybody else's crap. You don't give it and you don't take it. Could you imagine if Romney, Obama, Santorum, Gingrich, any of these clowns, McCain, they started coming in and laying down their line on us and saying, this is what you have to believe, and this is what you have to do. They said, listen, Jack, take it easy, man. Don't save your lines for somebody else. You know, plays well with the kiddies on The View, but it doesn't play so well here. So to me, it goes back to self-respect, dignity, courage, integrity, and passion.
Well, that's another point. We've gone out before and hung up flyers just to show people the power of grassroots, you know, defiling the dictator Obama as he launches wars, as he engages in Fast and Furious, as he does all this stuff outside the Constitution. And people can't believe we have the courage to go hang up signs. Or to protest Bilderberg. They say this must be fake. And I think, my God, they think I'm a hero because I would go hang a sign up or go protest a world leader. That is really pathetic compared to, I'll use the example, when my grandfather was flying, Liberators and B-17s over Europe, at the first of the war, half the people died flying their 22 missions. But my grandfather survived. And I think of the benchmark of courage. Somebody like my grandfather who would fly over Europe up against the Germans and had a lot of his buddies die and would never talk about it, by the way. He would never talk about what he did, versus people today who think it's heroic to go bullhorn some limousine of globalists going into a meeting. And it's like, I'm not a hero. In fact, I should do more. I just can't believe the benchmark in taking action is so incredibly low. People are literally spectators, Gerald.
Yes, they are. And then there's the other element that we really have to be concerned about. What's one of the headlines today about the increase of violent crime in Chicago, for example?
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah, so now what we have is, as society, and I'm not making these numbers up, the gap between the rich and the poor is the widest in the United States than any of the industrialized nations. What did people lose? 40% of their net income since the recession began.
Oh, wait.
So now you look at a whole section of society. Kids, their mothers, are whacked out on crack. They don't know who their father is. They're whacked out on meth or whatever else. They have no education, no skills, and there are tens and tens of millions of them. You think it's going to be a problem? And you know what the answer is going to be from the morons? We got to crack down on crime, I tell you. Oh, yeah, right. I got it. Let's start another war. You think Detroit looks bad? Let's not even give them a penny. No money for education.